Good morning. This is Sunday morning. I sure am glad to be with you today. I hope today is a wonderful day for you. You know, today is the day that at our church and in many churches we'll be celebrating Veterans Day. And I hope that you'll come and be a part of the service as we recognize veterans and that we honor them with the honor that they are due. We're supposed to have some special veterans with us today that I'm really looking forward to highlighting a little bit and thanking them for their service. On tomorrow is the 250th birthday of the Marine Corps. And with that in mind, we have a Marine speaking for us this morning, and I'm looking forward to his coming. It's going to be a blessed day. We're going to honor all of the veterans in the service and, in a sense, honor all of those who have served our country. And we have a special video that has been made just for today. It's not one of those you go online and find. It's our own video that we made. And a lady in our church and her husband put that together, and it is wonderful. I am so looking forward to that. And then we have a great time, a special gift for the veterans that will be here. So if you can, you come, be with us today. It's going to be a good day in the house of God. One thing that is happening today and tomorrow, and really even into Tuesday, is there is a temperature change. From my perspective, okay, there's an old song said a bad moon rising. Well, I'm going to tell you, it is not my thrill when the cold weather comes. I told somebody, I'd rather sweat than shiver any day. But anyway, that may be because I grew up in Florida. I'm not sure. But anyway, it's coming. And in the morning, it's going to really be cool. But you be in your place today, and you'll find your heart will get warm in the house of God. I hope that you'll be with us today. I'm going to be talking in just a few minutes, a continuation. We've talked about harvest. Today will be the last of this series. And today we're going to be talking about a plentiful harvest. And so I hope you'll stay with us. We'll be in Luke chapter 10 and taking what Jesus said. And it's always good to know what Jesus said, isn't it? That's the best thing. I heard about a man who died and went to heaven, and St. Peter asked him when he got to the gate, "Why should I let you into heaven?" The guy said, "Well, I tried to help other people." And Peter said, "Can you give me an example of what you did to be a help to somebody?" The man said, "Sure." He said, "Once I was in a roadside diner, and a group of motorcycle gang came through, and they were bothering this little old lady. They had knives and guns and were scaring everyone in the place. So I stepped up to the leader and I spun him around. I punched him in the face and I said, 'Why don't you leave that little old lady alone? And while you're at it, you and your filthy friends need to clear out of here and get on your bikes and ride away.'" "Wow," Peter said. "That was pretty brave." He said, "When did that happen?" The guy said, "About 5 minutes ago." Well, I guess if you're going to get to it, it's a good way to do it. Our text today is found in Luke chapter 2. Jesus speaking to his disciples, as he often did, using agriculture, a term, so they could understand the idea of what was spiritual truths that were given. You remember Jesus used the sower of the seed as and the ground and so forth as an illustration of preaching the word, sharing the truth of God's word and the gospel in particular. And they sowed it everywhere. And then he talks about how the grain of wheat falls in the ground and die. And if it dies, it brings forth much fruit. He often used that term of the harvest, the fields, the laborers, and so forth. And in Luke chapter 10, in verse number 2, Jesus, speaking to his disciples, said this: Therefore said he unto them, The harvest truly is great, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest, that he would send forth laborers into his harvest. The songwriter wrote these words: Hark the voice of Jesus crying, Who will go and work today? Fields are white and harvest waiting. Who will bear the sheaves away? Loud and long the master calls us, rich reward he offers free. Who will answer gladly, saying, Here am I, send me? Let none hear you idly saying, There is nothing I can do, while the lost of earth are dying, and the master calls for you. Take the task he gives you gladly. Let his work your pleasure be. Answer quickly when he calls you. Here am I. Send me. Daniel March wrote that in 1868. Note the challenge that Jesus gave to his disciples in our text to pray. There is a comparison between the size of the harvest and the size of the workforce. There has never been a time since Jesus was on earth when the number of laborers was equal to the harvest available. The constant need to carry out the commission to preach the gospel to every creature is more laborers. Jesus challenged his disciples to look on the fields and see, as he says, that they are white already to harvest. And here he calls their attention to the great harvest. The problem has never been the harvest, but with having enough workers to go into the harvest, to reap what is ready to be harvested. The tragedy of this lost harvest is not just that 1 year of crops is wasted in the field, but that eternal souls are lost forever. And that is a greater tragedy than a harvest of grain. The Lord never said there were too many laborers to go, so y'all take your turn. No, he always says the laborers are few. Some people will remember the history. Very few listening to me today would remember literally, but you may remember from history that when World War II came, our manufacturing was kind of caught off guard. We had to retool our manufacturing for wartime production. We had to be able to produce the armament, tanks and jeeps and all of that military equipment that had to be produced, including the weapons, the airplanes, everything that we had to have. So there had to be a retooling and then an enhancement in the production itself. Well, the call had come out when we're fighting in two fronts. We're fighting on the European front and we're fighting in the Pacific front. And we have two wars going at one time in this time. And the call had gone out. Uncle Sam needs you. And the call for men in particular to join the military, to serve. And they did. But the only problem is when they joined, it left a hole in the manufacturing. So the call went out for the women to step up. And thus was born Rosie the Riveter. And Rosie stepped up. And the women took the place and did. Before this, the manufacturing force was primarily men. But then the women stepped up. And they did what was needed at that moment. When the war was over, the workforce of America had been changed forever. It never did return back to that primarily male uh, filling up those roles. It was now more women in the workforce, more women doing the jobs and so forth. And you say, well, preacher, why do you mention that? My main purpose today is not to talk about how that affected the home, how it became two income families. That's not it. My main thought today was this: there was a need, and those that were available stepped up to meet the need. You see, what Jesus was speaking of here was a harvest that needed to be harvested. And he said, the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest that he would send forth laborers into his field, his harvest. Jesus often spoke of the harvest being great, being white and ready to harvest, but the labor force was not sufficient. In our text, he says, pray for laborers. I heard many missionaries make the statement that they were challenged to pray for laborers, and in particular to try to get a burden for a particular field and pray for that field. And many times as they were praying for God to send somebody to that particular field, God put it on their heart and they surrendered to go to that particular field. I believe that's what Jesus intended. I do not believe that we can honestly pray for something, literally, heartfelt, pray for something without being touched by that burden ourselves. When you really pray for somebody, God's going to do something in you toward them. And we need to be praying. In the song, My House is Full, we find these words. It's a song that has been used many times, but I want you to listen to the words. There is peace and contentment in my Father's house today. Lots of food on his table, and no one turned away. There is singing and laughter as the hours pass by. But a hush calms the singing as the Father sadly cries. My house is full, but my field is empty. Who will go and work for me today? It seems my children all want to stay around my table, but no one wants to work in my fields. The last verse of that song is a haunting challenge for the church today. Let me just put it to you this way. We come into the church house and we enjoy being with our friends, being with our family, being in that camaraderie that is there, the fellowshipping together. And it's a wonderful thing, and I believe it ought to be that way. But we need to understand that the church is just a bivouac, if you will. It's a temporary place where we come and kind of get our thoughts back together. We get together and get ready to do what we're supposed to. It's just temporary. But the real work is outside the church. And the songwriter put it this way in that last verse: push away from the table. Look out through the window pane. Just behind the house of plenty lies a field of golden grain. And it's ripe, white unto harvest. But the reapers, where are they? They're in the house. Oh, can't the children hear the father sadly say, my house is full, but my fields are empty. I wonder if the church today were to honestly begin to look at the fields and not just look at their own fellowship, not look at just their own pleasure, if you will, spiritually speaking, not just looking at coming to church, but to see themselves as a soldier in the army of God, a laborer in the fields of the harvest that the Lord has, that we are his workmen, created in Christ Jesus unto good works to accomplish what God has given us to do. If we could catch a glimpse of that, I wonder what could be done. You see, the truth is, while I understand the need, as was in World War II, for the ones who did not normally do that manufacturing work, the women of the house, the ones who were keepers at home, they had to roll up their sleeves, put that bandana around their head, and become the riveters of manufacturing. I want you to understand, those of us that never see ourselves as someone in the field reaching others, that's what God is calling us to do, to step outside of ourselves, to become the ones burdened for those around us, that we might reach them and become reapers and harvesters, not just those eating at the Father's table. I read this thought and I thought how true this is. If every church member, Christian, would see themselves as a laborer in the field of harvest, we could accomplish more than we ever have. Remember this: the Lord never one time, not one time in all the Bible, never once did he say, there's enough laborers, we don't need any more. It's never been that way. It's always been, the harvest is plenteous, the laborers are few. God help us to see ourselves as laborers for his field. God bless you for listening today. I hope you'll join with us in the morning, 8:30, right here, God willing. The Lord bless you today.